Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Today we're going to discuss about why United States is being served as the world's reserve currency. We'll make it as short as possible today. This is a very brief video. If you want a very explained or explanated video, you can go to the link we have given below. You'll have a very detailed explanation over there. So we'll just go to the content. The very main question, like everybody, ask us when they know that we are an economist, they ask the just one question: why is it U.S. dollar is very popular? Why is it United States is not at all losing its value? What is the main purpose of that? How is that even possible? These are the main questions they ask us. So to be very precise, we'll have to tell you one very important thing, that is, how can a product be very expensive all the time? Expensive in the sense we're talking about dollar right now. Dollar is very expensive because in terms of Indian rupee we pay nearly 77 rupee per dollar. Why is the dollar is always expensive, and why is it Indian rupee is not at all expensive? This is the major question. This is not just the question of Indians, it is the question of almost all the world people, except for certain countries whose value is higher than USA. So let's put it in a very simple way. Why is that dollar is always very expensive? Which means the question should be simplified into a very normal microeconomic zone. Whenever a product has a higher demand, whenever people want the product so badly, and there are many people out there who want the same product, and every one of them is willing to pay whatever it would take to pay, then the value of the dollar goes up. For example, as the demand for the product goes up, price of the product goes up. Okay, when demand for the product is very high, obviously what does it mean? It means that everybody in the world wants a product, and that product is very limited in supply. It is not like the whole sky is filled with the dollar. Whomsoever wants to take dollar, they can go and pick the dollar from the tree. It is not like that. Supply of dollar is somewhat fixed. Okay, it is not fixed as in there's no extra dollar supply. No, that is not the case. There is limited supply of dollars, and people who want dollar are standing in a very virtual queue. They are standing like anything, and everybody wants to consume dollar. Which means when demand for a product is so stammering high, obviously the price with which they would like to pay to get $1, that is the sentimental factor, or that is the main factor which triggers the price of United States dollars. Now the second question is, why is it everybody needs dollar? Why should they need dollar at all in the first sense? Do you think that the whole world countries are needing dollar because they're going to use the dollar to buy United States goods? That is the wrong assumption, because if you take United States, United States has dollars, and the whole world needs that dollar for what? Do you think we need dollar for the consumption of goods and services which has been produced inside USA? No. In fact, if you assume that the whole world right now needs $100 for their consumption, it is to be understood that only $10 is needed for the world people to use on American goods and services. The other $90, they are not wanting to consume something inside USA. Rather, they want to use the $90 outside of USA. Isn't it tricky? The actual concept goes this way. I'll tell you, there are certain events. World War I, World War II, okay, World War II, Bretton Woods Agreement, 1971 Nixon shock, and petrodollar. Without understanding these 5 things, you cannot understand why dollar is very, very, very highly valuable. First one, we'll start with World War I and World War II. See, when World War I and World War II was ongoing, okay, America did not involve into the affairs of World War at all. That is, they did not fight at all. When World War started in 1914, at the end of 1917 only they entered into World War, which means for all through the time of 3 years, the whole world is fighting a war. Okay, even Indians are into the war. Indian soldiers were into the war. They were fighting the opponents. Do you think Indian soldiers fought on behalf of India? No, they fought on behalf of Great Britain. Okay, to represent Great Britain, Indian soldiers were into the war and they were fighting very hardly. Likewise, the whole world countries who involved in World War I were fighting a very tough war. So at the end of 3 years, the world was started in 1914. So after 3 years in 1917, what happened? America is entering into the war. So they're so fresh. Okay, so in 1970 when they entered into the war, they actually, what happened, the war was ongoing for 3 years, and in the fourth year they're jumping into the scenario, which means for the 3 years all the running race participants who have been running for 3 hours, they're also tired, and in the fourth hour, who is entering into the arena? USA is entering. Okay, and of course USA won the war. That is, the people or the countries who are being connected to USA won the war. Now the question is, what was USA doing for all those 3 years? அப்படின்னா USA had the industrial revolution boom. They had certain technologies, and using the technologies they manufactured or created goods and services in a very high speed. As a result of this, they've been into the production of goods and services, which was ultimately needed for fighting a war. For example, medical supplies, okay, or military weapons, equipments. All these goods has been very turbulently produced by USA, and they've been supplying all the goods to all the countries. For example, they supplied for Japan, they supplied for USA, they supplied for Russia also. So to every country, for the opponent 1 and opponent 2 who is fighting the World War 1, okay, USA was a spectator who is seeing that what is happening now. Okay, they're just a spectator. There are two parties who is fighting. For both the parties, it is supplying the military weapons. As a result, all the world countries who bought the weapons from United States has indebted to USA to pay something. Obviously, these countries cannot pay their own currencies, because United States said, oh my God, for the last days you've been fighting so badly, which means if you pay me some currency, in your own currency, if you're paying me for the goods you've purchased from me, what will I do with your currency? Because when you give me your currency for buying something from my country, which means in turn, if I use this currency in your country, I should be able to buy something from your country, no? Now I'm not able to do, because your country is almost nothing after the World War 1, which means I will not receive your currency. Rather, give me gold, because your currencies are being printed based on gold only. Gold is the only metal which is being kept as the base for printing currency. If you want to go into a very short history about the gold standard, it means that every country used gold as a currency. For example, gold coins were being printed to just trade, whether it is within the country or between the countries. For everything, gold was used as the currency. See, for example, in India, if you want to go from Bangalore to there is New Delhi, or if you want to go from Chennai to Kashmir, okay, you want to buy a very big camel or a very big buffalo or a very tall building, you want to take 20,000 gold coins, okay, 20,000 gold coins. So if you carry 20,000 gold coins at a piggybacking, obviously the robbers will come and rob you. So as a result, what you said was, you gave to the kingdom of Chennai kingdom, you gave the 20,000 coins and received a token. Using the token, you gave it to the Delhi Sultanate. I have 20,000 gold coin token given by Chennai department. There is Chennai king. You can call the Chennai king for cross-referencing. I have invested, or I have deposited 20,000 gold coins with him. Please have this token and give me the house. I want to buy this house. Please give me this house. Please register that in my name. Abdina, a citizen from India can go from or Indian kingdom, or you can call that as a Indian subcontinent, whatever. You're going from one kingdom to another kingdom. You're going to give him a token that I have 20,000 coins, but then I have deposited that with the Chennai kingdom. So Delhi Sultanate, if you want, you can cross-reference with him. Likewise, if anybody who comes from Delhi Sultanate to Chennai to buy something, what they'll do, they will deposit all the gold to Delhi Sultanate, receive a token, come to Chennai, show the token to Chennai king, and Chennai king will say, okay, you can buy goods worth this many gold coins. As a result, after 1 year, if there is any balance, for example, more of Delhi people have bought goods from Chennai, which means Delhi has to pay 100 gold coins and Chennai has to pay 90 gold coins, abdina, which means Delhi has to pay 10 coins in extra. This will be carried as a trade deficit for the next year. Okay, if at all there is an emergency, Chennai department or Chennai king can go and collect the 10 coins and come. That is, a Chennai king can send his servants to go and collect the 10 coins, whichever is the difference. This will help us in one way. For example, 100 coins have to be carried by Delhi to Chennai, and Chennai people have to carry 90 coins to Delhi. This is a very